I want to begin to discuss survival with you, my friends. A good friend of mine commenting on one of my other videos the other day requested I do a video about survival. My brother Cody, that is. And I told Cody, as I tell you, that if you're wanting survival as in wilderness, bow and arrow, Bowie knife, living off the land, what berries to eat to survive, and how to skin a deer with your bare hands and eat it raw, I'm not your guy. That's not going to be me. So if your definition of survival is, brute, raw, wilderness survival, like Rambo, I'm not going to be your guy for that. In fact, if you can do that, I need you to do a video about that. And if things get bad, we'll come stay at your house. That's not my forte. I grew up in hunting and with my dad and things. I know about it, but I can't profess that that's my strength. I can't skin a deer, and I don't know how to eat off the land and live off the land. So I probably need to learn more about that, pure raw survival. And, really survival is a subjective term, because survival is going to mean something different to everyone, depending on who you are, what period of time you're living in, what continent you're living in, what government you're living under, what, zip code or, little town you live in, and the particular circumstances that you are living under. Survival is going to mean something different to everyone. Someone in another country, someone in a different, 100 years ago, survival 100 or 200 years ago looks different than survival today. So when I speak about survival, I'm speaking about the survival that I have lived through, my personal little American context of survival. It could be, I guess, termed survival of the poor working class. And I speak often to people from drug addict, alcoholic homes, broken homes, parentless homes, fatherless homes, people that came up the hard way, down and out, without much family support, people with criminal records who spent some of their life in jail or on drugs because of what you've been through. I speak to trauma survivors because I am one. Some of us had very hard lives and did not have a silver spoon. We didn't have rich parents or a family business to inherit or family assets to inherit. So we started from the bottom, and some of us are still not too far from the bottom, but by God's grace, we're surviving. And so my definition of survival and my audience that I will be able to help is going to be the lower working class American, rural or country working person, be you a man or a woman. But of course, I speak mostly to the guys. I am a guy. I'm sure I relate best to guys. And so there's a lot involved in this. To survive tough situations, and I'm going to assume that, you're starting where I started from, with a traumatized background, no money, no skills, no tools, not knowing what in the world's going on in the world. Perhaps you have a criminal background, you've been to jail, you got all that against you too. And you're just trying to survive in this modern Western world. So there's many things that I'll need to discuss, and I will not do a 4-hour-long video because people only watch for like 5 minutes. So the first topic, the first point of the survival conversation from my eyes is you got to be scrappy. Okay, you got to be scrappy. Some of us like I say, come up with broken homes, no guidance, no father, no, just lost in the world. Don't understand how the world works. You don't know what's going on. Maybe you've been told some things. Maybe you've been told to work hard. And that's a good thing. Hard work is definitely going to be a part of the picture. But there's so much more than just working hard. And we'll get into all those things. But tonight I just want to talk about Scrappy. Scrappy is a scrappy person is resilient, resourceful, and persistent. A scrappy person is willing to take whatever they have, wherever they are, and dig and fight and claw and scratch and get hold of anything they can get hold of to learn a new skill or take another step in the right direction, and hold on to that and fight for that and work towards that and fight up to the next level. Today, with the modern technology, these cell phones, the internet, computers, you can learn just about anything that you want to learn. I remember the time before the internet. I remember the time before YouTube, and you didn't have all of these resources to draw upon. You used to have to go to the library and get books off the shelf and read a 20-year-old book. So your newest information was 20 years old. But now you have YouTube and you have the internet and you have data in real time. Now, the hard part about that is you got to realize that not everything on the internet is true, and not everyone's advice on YouTube is going to apply to you. The context is important. And you need to make sure that the advice being given is not just someone trying to sell you something, because there sure is a lot of that. There's a lot of people that say a lot of things, and usually they're doing it to profit. They're trying to scare you, like the news media. Man, all the news is bad news, because they know that if it bleeds, it leads, and fear captivates people and sells attention. So you have to learn to filter through all the information that's out there now. There's so much information. You have to filter through and find what is actually true and what actually applies to you. And you can filter a lot of things out by asking, what's this person trying to sell me? And I'm not trying to sell you anything, okay? I'm on here just to share my heart with you and try to help somebody if I can. But you got to be scrappy. You got to, wherever you are, wherever you're starting from, whether you're starting homeless, whether you're starting fresh out of jail with no home and no job and nothing, whether you're starting with a little bit of money and a baseline job, or wherever you're starting at in society, you have to be scrappy. You have to be willing to be humble and teachable and dig and fight and learn everything you can learn and get hold of some more skills. You got to start adding value to yourself, building skills that make you more employable at higher rate of pay. You got to begin to earn income and make your way through the world. And, you're going to have some money. And so get a hold of the internet, get a hold of YouTube, get a hold of the resources, and begin to learn what's going on in this world. Who am I? What in the world is going on in this world? And how can I make my way through this world? And you got to be scrappy. You got to be willing to dig and fight and search and seek and work hard. Find the first job you can find. Get a hold, if you don't have a job at all, man, you got to have a job. Find a job. The first job you can find, take it. It's better than the one you have, which is none. Take the first job you can find. It may not be what you like. It may not be what you want, but it's a job. Take that first job and then immediately be looking for your next job. immediately be, you know, as you're working that job and trying to progress and, you know, be promoted within that first job, go ahead and be researching and praying about and looking for your next job, you know, your next better job that pays more, and be skilling up and teaching and training yourself for free on YouTube of how to do that next job, and prepare yourself and educate yourself and train yourself and work towards that. But you're going to have to be scrappy. There was a time, a brief period in time here in America, from say the 1950s up through the 1990s, that you could get an average job just about anywhere, even in retail. You could be, you know, in retail at a grocery store, and you could, you know, have a decent quality of life just working whatever job. Well, nowadays it's not so much that way. The cost of goods, services, and assets have gotten so ridiculous that you've about got to have 5 jobs or, you know, make $1 million a year if you want to have any quality of life. But the point is, you know, when you're starting out, you got to take what you can get, and then you work your way up. You figure out what jobs pay better. Maybe you need to go to college and get some degree. Maybe you want to work trades like I do. Well, you're going to be taking an apprenticeship. You're going to be starting out as a helper, an electrician helper, a plumber helper, a carpenter's helper, and you're going to start working under the journeyman, and you're going to work for like 4 years in the trade to be able to earn your license and become a licensed tradesman. Whatever you need to do, you got to be scrappy, and you got to start figuring this thing out. You got to get a hold of some resources, start getting some knowledge about you, and start figuring out how to put yourself in a good place where you can move up the chain. You can start where you are is the only place you can start, but your goal is to climb. Your goal is to get up off of rock bottom if you're there. So that's all I'm going to say for tonight. There's a lot more that can be said, and I will attempt to say over a few more videos. But if you're going to survive, in my terms of survival, you got to be scrappy. You got to be willing to figure it out and go get it. So be scrappy and get out there and go get it. Have a good night, and God bless you.